5 counts of lewd acts. Each count carries up to 20 years in prison. Disgraced Pastor Robert Morris, founder of 100,000-member Gateway Church, now faces a century behind bars for essaying 12-year-old Cindy Clemisher in the 1980s. His lawyer offered her $25,000 to keep quiet forever. She refused. Now the Oklahoma Attorney General calls this case particularly egregious because Morris exploited his position as a pastor. Many believed in Gateway Church and trusted disgraced Pastor Robert Morris. The predator in the pulpit built an empire on buried secrets. But the truth has finally come to light. Cindy Clemisher was born in 1970, and she is currently 55 years old. She said that Pastor Robert Morris started molesting her on Christmas Eve of 1982 when he was 21 years old. Pastor Robert Morris was born on July 29, 1961, and was born again on 16 February 1981 at the age of 19 years. In December of the same year, James Robison invited him to join him at James Robison Ministries as a traveling evangelist. He also became a regular preacher at Shady Grove Church, where he became friends with Cindy's parents. Pastor Robert started gaining popularity while traveling with James Morris. From this article in one of the newspapers on April 25, 1982, he was being taunted as the next Billy Graham. He had already preached in crusades with millions of people and led 10,000 people to Jesus by the time he was being interviewed. What I found interesting is that he used to go to schools for meetings organized by James Robison Ministries, giving motivational talks on eggs. At this time, he was already married to his wife Debbie and had a son, Joshua. According to Cindy Clemisher's account, as told to the Wartburg Watch, Clemisher's abuse by Morris began on December 25, 1982, when she was 12 years old and Morris was 21. Their families were friends, and Morris, along with his wife Debbie and their young son, would stay with Clemisher's family and join them on trips. She said that the abuse happened in the states of Texas and Oklahoma, and in both, she has no legal recourse since the crime is beyond the allowed law of statute. She said that when he told her that she shouldn't tell anyone of the molestation, otherwise it would destroy everything. With Cindy's innocence, she couldn't understand what Pastor Robert was doing to her, and that's why the sexual assault continued for over 4 years until she was 16 years in the year 1987. In his own admission, Pastor Robert said, and I quote, "When I was in my early 20s, I was involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in a home where I was staying. It was kissing and petting and not intercourse, but it was wrong. This behavior happened on several occasions over the next few years." End quote. During all this period, Robert was still preaching at Shady Grove Church. And in case you do not know, Shady Grove, a church in Grand Prairie, later became Gateway's Grand Prairie campus. In March 1987, when Cindy told her family what was happening, Robert said he resigned and started his restoration process, which according to him lasted for 2 years, that is, from March 1987 to March 1989. However, according to an excerpt from his book Dreams to Destiny, he wrote, and I quote, "After a month of working nights as a security guard at Motel 6, I felt I had made great strides toward humility. I decided that perhaps I was ready to return to ministry. So I checked back with James Robison's ministry to see if they had any job openings. I was happy to discover that they needed a morning supervisor at their prayer center from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., Morris wrote. That sure sounded better than the graveyard shift I had been working at the Motel 6, so I took the job. This shows he lied when he claimed he stayed out of ministry for 2 years. According to a newspaper advert in 1988, he was scheduled to preach on the 27th of August and September 9th, 1988, which shows he didn't finish the 2 years outside of ministry. In the same advert, they claimed that he had traveled to Poland in June 1987 for a 2-week crusade. That means the claim that Cindy's dad approved his return to ministry was a lie, and Cindy confirmed so when she said, and I quote, "My father never ever gave his blessing on Robert returning to ministry. My father told him he was lucky he didn't kill him. I am mortified that he is telling the world my dad gave his blessing. Of course, we forgive because we are called to biblically forgive those who sin against us. But that does not mean he is supposed to go on without repercussions." End quote. According to the advert in the newspaper, he was referred to as a former associate evangelist with James Robison Ministries. This vindicates James Robison, who released a statement saying he never hired him again. As Pastor Robert continued with the ministry, Cindy was going through counseling due to the trauma she endured in his hands. All this time, she couldn't name what had happened to her until she was 35 years old when her counselor told her, and later Oprah Winfrey made her realize she had been molested. This was in 2005 when she started writing to Pastor Robert and the Gateway elders to notify them of the crime which they acknowledged. In 2007, her lawyer wrote to Pastor Robert, this time seeking for some financial restitution for money she had expended on counseling services. She had requested for $50,000, but instead gave her a counteroffer of $25,000 only if she signed a non-disclosure agreement, which she refused. There was also another transcript of a phone call between Cindy and Robert where he asked her to name an amount she wanted him to pay for her silence. Pastor Robert could not pay, and communication ceased at that moment. From 2007 to 2024, Cindy and her family continued stalking Pastor Robert wherever he went to preach, whereby she would share her story with the host pastor, but none took any action. It wasn't until the year 2024 that a retired pastor referred her to the Wartburg Watch, a blog dedicated to examining abuse and other issues in the church. The blog shared the account of Cindy Clemisher, which was first published on June 14th, and immediately after Pastor Robert, through Gateway Church, elders released a statement acknowledging the moral failure. On the 18th of June 2024, Cindy released a statement responding to the statement from Gateway, where she shared more damning details that Pastor Robert had never shared before. This led to his resignation and official communication made on the 18th of June 2024, and a law firm, Haynes & Boones, was hired to do an independent inquiry to find out the true facts of the scandal. On 28th June 2024, the law firm made recommendations that required any Gateway Church elder with a potential conflict of interest to take a temporary leave of absence from the Board of Elders. This includes any elder with a relational conflict and those elders who were on the board from 2005 to 2007. This led to the compulsory leave of James Morris, who is Robert Morris's son and successor, and 3 elders, namely Kevin Grove, Steve Doolin, and Gayland Lawshe. In the update in early November 2024, Haynes & Boones completed their investigations and confirmed that 4 elders knew of Robert Morris's sensual abuse allegations and knew the victim's age. The church said that Robert surrounded himself with people who could not question him and would do anything to protect him. Those elders were removed. They also encourage anyone who could have been molested by any pastor or staff member of the Gateway Church to come forward and report to them. However, I would want to add that anyone should first report the crime to the police and then report to the church elders due to their history of covering such stories. Church elder Tra Wilbanks said during service that all but 3 of the church's elders either knew Morris had sensual contact with a 12-year-old or received some information about the situation and failed to inquire further. Tra confirmed that they had removed these elders from serving in Gateway. We have decided to draw a very bright line here based on biblical and moral values and the values of our church family, and we can report to you that as of today, no individual in either group serves as an elder, is employed by, or works at Gateway Church, Wilbanks said to claps from the audience at the megachurch's Southlake campus. A quick check on Gateway's website, elders Thomas Miller, Gayland Lawshe, Kevin Grove, and Jeremy Carrasco were not shown on Gateway's elder page on the church's website. In the summary, Wilbanks praised Cindy Clemishire's bravery for coming forward with her story, a statement that was met with applause by congregants. He also shared the immediate actions that Robert took to try save face, including the initial statement that the church released. Robert Morris directed Gateway employees to release a statement that intended to minimize the severity of Cindy's claims in one final attempt to hide the truth, he said. Cindy was not a consenting adult, but rather a child of 12 and a victim of sexual abuse. Morris resigned without meeting with elders who had requested to meet him, and also declined to meet with Haynes Boone during their investigation, Wilbanks said. In March of 2025, after almost 43 years of fighting for justice, Pastor Robert Morris was indicted on 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a 12-year-old. His arrest warrant was issued, and Morris eventually surrendered himself to the police, whereby he was released on a $50,000 bond and is scheduled to appear at a preliminary hearing on May 9th. Cindy Clemisher expressed her gratitude for the indictment, saying, "After almost 43 years, the law has finally caught up with Robert Morris for the horrific crimes he committed against me as a child. Now, it is time for the legal system to hold him accountable." Clemisher's courage in coming forward has been a beacon of hope for many survivors of abuse, especially within the church. Her story highlights the importance of holding powerful figures accountable, no matter how much time has passed. These are the recorded timelines of how the scandal unfolded from 1982 to today. I will keep updating you on any new developments. Thank you for watching Anointed TV. If you found this update informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more news and insights. Let's keep the faith and stand for truth and justice. Until next time, stay blessed.